Okay, we're out in one of the old barn basements here, and believe it or not, actually, in some of your rougher, harder to, plants don't grow there very well, you find some of your better medicinals. And I'm going to be harvesting one today, and I've got plenty of it here. And this here is pennygrass. Pennygrass is a member of the mustard family, and there are many members of the mustard family in the domestic version. There is cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, broccoli. These are domestic members of the mustard family. And then, of course, we have mustard that we actually make into a paste and put on our hot dogs. It's a condiment. And I showed you shepherd's purse, there's pepper's grass, there's just so many different members. It's a huge family that is spread worldwide. And a lot of your mustards, you can eat the leaves, the young leaves, before the flower stalks start. You can eat those early in the spring, and they're some of the first greens that come up, and especially in places like Wisconsin where we don't have a lot of greens early. Adding fresh green mustard leaves to our salad is just delicious early in the spring. Oh, you can hear the pheasant out back. I like to use pennygrass. We used to call it pennygrass. It's actually called pennycress. And I like to use pennycress for my mustard plasters for the reason of all mustards have a little antibacterial property. Broccoli is really good. Eating broccoli is very good to build up your immune system. Using things like shepherd's purse on a cut will help keep the bacteria out. Most mustards have at least a little bit of antibacterial property, antimicrobial property. But pennygrass has one of the highest amounts of it, which means it's not, yes, you can take it internally, but it's not the safest to use. Just like you shouldn't OD on antibiotics. You got a little cold, so you start popping antibiotic pills. Antibiotics should be a final result. It's the last thing you use. You try getting enough sleep and keeping yourself clean and eating and boosting your immune system. Allow your own body to fight off the bacteria or the microbials long before you start asking some outside help to do it. But I use this. I like pennygrass as a plaster, using it as a mustard plaster. And a mustard plaster is simply you take equal amounts of the mustard, whatever kind of mustard you're using, with a little bit of flour. So if you've got 3 tablespoons of mustard, you put in 3 tablespoons of flour, and then you mix in just enough water to make it into a paste. And then you spread it on a cotton cloth, half of the cotton cloth, fold the other half that doesn't have the spread on over the top so that the mustard is caught in the middle between the 2 pieces of cloth, and then lay it on the chest and put something warm over the top of it. And this helps make the body sweat. It helps draw out the toxins out of the body. You have to watch it because mustard can burn the skin, and especially if you're using it on young children, you really have to kind of keep an eye on it. Don't let it sit for a long period of time. And on yourself, you have to too. When it starts getting red, you have to remove it. Some people will actually put another towel on the skin, a very light towel on the skin, put the mustard plaster on top of that, and then put the heat, some kind of heat source, usually a hot towel over the top of that. But I like to use pennycress for my mustard plasters. It has that slightly stronger antibacterial property, so kind of use that. You're trying to drive, with a mustard plaster, you're trying to drive out a fever and drive out the toxins. And then the extra little kick of antibacterial property is just kind of an extra addition to the plaster itself. Now, it can be taken internally, but in small doses. Too much of this can actually make you dizzy. Cattle have died from when they were in starvation and they had nothing else to eat. They would eat the pepper grass and in large amounts, and because they had an empty stomach and they ate the pepper grass, it actually would make them so sick. And of course, they're they're true vegetarians. They have a system. Their body is made to only digest vegetable material. It would take a lot for us to get sick and die like cattle do, but it can mess around with your blood pressure a little bit if you take too much of it internally and make you dizzy. So especially if you have blood pressure problems, don't be taking this internally. I just use it as an external mustard plaster. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip all these things off, hang them upside down. I laid my clippers down over here, but I'll just show you. Then I'll hang them upside down, tie a whole mess of them together, hang them upside down in a dark, dry area where well ventilated, where they can dry. And when they're dry, I take the seed pods. I'll just strip the seed pods off, and I still leave them in the pods. You can, if you really want to go through all the work, you can take the mustard seeds out of the pods. I don't go through that much work. I'll just grind up the pods after they're dry and use the whole thing for my mustard plaster. You'll get more of a concentrated medicine if you take the seeds out of the pod, but the pods don't do anything. They're just basically fiber around the seeds, so it's no big deal. And like I said, I'm going to hang up probably all of this. Pennycress is a invasive, so you can harvest it all and you're not going to do any damage to the environment. So I am going to harvest all of that's around here. And again, like I said, I'll tie like 4 or 5 of them together, hang them up and let them dry, and then have another bunch and then another bunch, and that just helps. And then when they get completely dry, I will strip off the seed pods, and I usually just put those into a glass jar and then store it in a dark place. And again, that's what I use for mustard plaster.